year 2022 was definitely an interesting year. There were a lot of highs, a lot of lows as well. And I'll just say that I'm grateful for all that happened in that year because it definitely set me up for this new year 2023. And I want us to start right at the beginning of the year in terms of reviewing what happened to me, major life changes that happened. At the beginning of the year 2022, I was a bit anxious because I was waiting for my Canadian permanent residency visa to come out. So I applied in 2019, and immediately after that, COVID hit. So there was like a stall in the process. My life was literally in a limbo. Couldn't make concrete plans, couldn't do anything, couldn't really enjoy myself because I'm like, oh, what if my Canadian PR comes? Do you get? So at the beginning of the year, I just was done with the waiting. I'm like, I want this thing to come already. Also, at that time, I was also making important changes when it came to my business. So for those of you who do not know, before I became a product designer, which is what I currently do now, I used to be a fashion designer. Designer. Anyways, I used to be a fashion designer and I owned a fashion brand. We were doing amazing things. However, in 2021, I made up my mind to close down my business. I felt like the business depended fully on me to grow and scale. And unfortunately, it was the business model that I had initiated when I started the business. I tried my best. At least I think I tried my best to find someone who would take over and help me manage the business, but I couldn't find anybody who was willing to do it. So I made up my mind to close my business in January of 2022. When I sent out like messages to people, they were not really excited about it because a lot of my customers kind of depended on me for their daily wear. So even up till now, I get messages to say, Grace, we miss you, Boraya, we miss you. And it was an emotional decision for me, but it was something I had to take because I cannot come and kill myself, as we would say in Nigeria. So I made that decision and I sent out text messages to let people know that I was closing my business. So I spent most of January selling our assets and also selling our inventory. Aside that, in January we had a wedding in the family. So for those of you who haven't watched that video, I'm going to link it up here. Please go and watch it. We had an Edo customary wedding, like a proper Bini party. My sister got wedded and I was happy to go there for the wedding because it took my mind off the waiting game. But interestingly enough, just after the wedding, I got a request, like a passport request as we'll call it, and I sent off my passport to the Canadian embassy in Egypt to get my passport stamped. After that, crickets. 1 week had passed, 2 weeks had passed, 3 weeks had passed. I had not heard anything. And at that point, this thing changed to prayer point because after waiting for years, another waiting game began again. I'm just like, I can't even with these Canadian people. However, in the time that I was waiting, I began to pack my stuff, say my goodbyes little by little, and eventually my passport came. An interesting thing is that the passport came about a week to when I had a work trip. So immediately I got my passport, the next week I was off to Ivory Coast. And that was my first time ever being in Ivory Coast. It was really interesting for me because I got to meet my work buddies face to face. We had people from all around the world. So we had a Brazilian, a Kenyan, a Zimbabwean, and something interesting happened. So I met someone who had never tried plantain in his life before. In short, let me rephrase. I met an African who had never eaten plantain in his life before. And that experience just basically made me realize that there is no universal experience. So in my mind, I just thought that all Africans eat plantain. But then that realization made me kind of appreciate all the things that I get to experience on a daily basis, no matter how little it may seem or insignificant or minute, I just get to savor anything that I experience daily. Moving on from there, I returned back home and I was all over the place. I needed to do my hair, so I wanted to braid it. No typical travel out of the country hair. Now you want to braid your hair so that you can stay for like a couple of months before you get used to the new terrain. That's how they did me what you ordered versus what you got. If you see the braids that the lady did for me, and unfortunately for me, I couldn't really take it out because that was the last day I had before I was going to travel out, and I didn't have any other time on my hands to get it redone. So grudgingly, I carried the hair out of the country like that. After my hair saga, I shall manage the hair that was not given, and I entered my plane, was traveling, and I had a layover, but the layover, which was supposed to be for 3 hours, turned to be, I think it was like a 10 hours or 12-hour layover. And eventually I missed my connecting flight in Montreal, so I had to spend the night. To make matters even worse, right, while I was at the layover in Germany, my phone got missing.
Oh,
My phone got missing. Lucky enough, WhatsApp saved the day, or WhatsApp web saved the day, so I used my laptop to contact my people to let them know that, oh, my flight was delayed. Just give them the update, sha. And eventually they came to pick me from Montreal. When I got to Canada, when I stepped out of the airport like this, I knew I wasn't in Nigeria because the cold was giving me bass boost. As in UK, right? It was really cold, and luckily enough, I jumped into the car, and then we had a long drive ahead of us because we were going from Montreal to Ottawa. So my early days in Canada was filled with a lot of activities. So after my arrival, I had like a day break in between, and then the next day I was off to Edmonton to stay with my sister for about 2 weeks. And while I was there, I couldn't even get a phone. I felt stranded. I was really frustrated because, you know, now coming from your home country, you're not able to contact people. I had to be on my laptop to actually make calls out of the country. I had to be on my laptop to actually text anybody or communicate with anybody. Okay, so I didn't have a phone, so I'm like, okay, let me open bank account so that it's not as if I came to a new country, I'm not doing anything. Let me open an account and then let me get my SIN. So I opened a bank account. I'm like, oh, thank God. So I went to Canada Place, and they said that my sex on my international passport and that on my confirmation of permanent residence wasn't the same. Apparently on my COPR, my sex was male. Hey, I was even further frustrated at this point, but couldn't do anything about it. So I went back home and then put in an application for that change or correction to be made. In the meanwhile, I was enjoying my life, or trying to enjoy my life in Canada, without thinking of the fact that I earned my money in Naira, but I was spending dollars, even though I had not gotten a job at that point. So if you follow my channel, you'll see videos of me just meeting new friends, or just kind of hanging out, going to restaurants, discovering new places. I'll link some of the videos here, so if you want to watch it, please by all means do that. This was around April, May, so I was interviewing for a job. I was house hunting. Oh my God, house hunting in Canada is ghetto, I swear. Okay, let me rephrase. When I was house hunting in Canada, it felt like the ghetto. I'll explain what that means. Basically, when we came to Canada, or when I came to Canada, so when I say we, I'm referring to my housemates. We needed a lot of things to get a house, so they asked us to provide our credit report, history of where we stayed before, so like a reference letter from our previous landlord if we had one. At some point, right, we're even willing to pay like 3 months rent up front or even more, but we were turned down. This is a story for another day. I'll probably create a full-on YouTube video about hunting for a house in Canada, but it wasn't easy. On top of all this, I was searching for a job, and luckily enough, in July I got a job. Like, I got a hybrid role but it wasn't based in Ottawa, it was based in Toronto, so I had to move. And at this point, it was almost 1 week to my resumption, and I still hadn't gotten any place to stay. But finally, we're able to get a place, and the way we even got itself in, it was unlike the other one. It was stressless, it was easy, it was so seamless. If you haven't watched the vlog of my empty apartment, the furnished apartment, and also my room tour, I advise you go watch it. It's really, really nice. The makeover, the transformation was amazing. So this was definitely one of the great wins for me in 2022. But another win for me, apart from getting the house was a win. Getting a job was a win. I felt like I was becoming a bit grounded, and it was really exciting moving from Ottawa, which was like a smaller city, to Toronto. And in short, at this point, I'm going to shout out to my brother-in-law, Tonton Nike, and my sister. They did an amazing job in helping me relocate. They drove me all the way, and they even stayed with me for a couple of days to help me get settled in. Guys, when Canada says you should have family in Canada, it makes a lot of sense. Like, they know what they're saying, because having family in Canada really helped me settle in. Even with the family I had, at some point I was frustrated. I'm like, oh, so guys, another major win for me in 2022 was the fact that I got my Canadian driver's license. In Ottawa, I was already driving, but I was driving with my Nigerian international license, right? So I had to get my Canadian license, and I was able to do the written test and the driving test, and I aced it. I aced it. So your girl, Grace, is an official Canadian driver. Anyway, I'll say that hands down, one of the major highlights of 2022 was the group of friends that I met when I moved to Toronto. So if you watch some of my videos, especially the Caribana one, I will link it here as well. You see that I went out with friends, you know, just meeting them made my life feel more integrated to the country. Backtracking, one of the low points for me this year was the fact that I couldn't spend Christmas with my family. So I applied for my US visa, went on the US website, there was no date from last year, that's 2022, up to 2023 March in Toronto. So I'm like, okay, my family had invited me to spend Christmas with them in the US. Why don't I go to Calgary to get this sorted out? So I booked an appointment in Calgary, flew all the way to Calgary, and guess what? When I got there, they were like, where's your Canadian PR card? And I'm like, I just have this. They were like, where's the card? And I'm like, oh, I sent it back to CIC. So remember that I had the issue with my sex being male? Yeah. So when my PR card came, it had male on it. So I applied. Remember, I applied earlier in March for that change, but the change didn't come until August. I had to send my PR card back for it to be reissued, and at the time, which was in November, my PR card hadn't still come back. So I couldn't travel out of the country, because if I traveled out, then I won't be able to enter into the country except I do some certain things, which was just for me too long a process and too tiring. So I spent my Christmas here in Toronto. The holidays January wasn't so boring after all, because I had friends, you know, we spent time together. We had the Christmas themed party. We went out to also see the fireworks on the 31st, like a crossover fireworks thing. And then also on the 1st of January, we had this really fun and engaging games night, and there was a lot of food. Oh my god, there was a lot of food. Guys, I just literally had like a bad muscle pull while I was creating this video, so please subscribe to my channel. I know that's a bad emotional appeal to make you subscribe to my channel, but please subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying this video so far. Just a recap of what I enjoyed most about 2022 and what I didn't like as much. So for me, the highlights of the year was getting my apartment, getting my job, getting my driver's license. Oh, I did a birthday outing. That was good. And then also, yeah, I got another job. Oh, how could I forget? So yeah, I'm gonna talk about that in another video because it's like a really good opportunity that I'm excited about. And then the last but not the least was also meeting people who I could call friends. Unlike previous years where I would sit down and do like a goal setting session with myself, this year I'm taking a different approach because I just felt like most times in the previous year I would set like a year-long goal and I wouldn't even have time to go back to review it to see if it's working until the end of the year when I come back and look at it. So basically I'm asking myself, what do I want from the year, what do I want from life, and then as I discover it, I'm writing it down. One thing I definitely know that in this year I want to be more intentional about my friendships, just basically pinpointing those friends that have been tried and true and just kind of gifting them really nice gift for their birthday and appreciating them more and calling them, I know, fanning that friendship. So that's one thing I definitely want to do more of this year. In the same vein, right, I also want to do what I call intentional familyship, for lack of better words. That's what I called it, right? I want to be more intentional about the time I spend with my family because I have a really large family. Guys, I wrote down like a list of the members of my family so that and their birthdays so that I don't forget, and also set like alarms or reminders rather for each birthday. I have over 24 people on the list, just like my immediate family and their kids, right? 24 people. Oh my god. Anyways, that's not really unexpected because we're 10 in my immediate family, so yeah. So I have over 24 people on the list. Beyond just giving them gifts, the goal is also to have like conversations with them, kind of groom the relationship we already have so that it's better. And in terms of my YouTube channel, guys, you already know what I have in stock for you guys because I'm already shooting better videos, right? So one of the goals for this year in terms of YouTube is to shoot better videos, so in terms of quality but also in terms of the content. So you should be expecting videos from me around product design, so UI UX, life in Canada as an immigrant, and fingers crossed, you should be expecting videos weekly, so one video weekly, so watch out for it. If you're not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. So guys, talking about my job, I landed a new job at Yelp, so I am a Yelper. Yeah, so I'm really excited because typically I always work with like smaller organizations, so really smaller startups. Most of my career has been, I've always been like the first designer, the only designer, or in a really small team. Yelp has like a design team that has over 50 plus designers, so I'm really excited to join the team and also contribute and learn from people on the team. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. I definitely will share my experience of what I learned in the process. So if you have any suggestions about what you would like me to share about in future, please make sure you drop it in the comment section below, and fingers crossed I'll probably share about it. In terms of career, right, guys, I picked an interest in product strategy last year and have been exploring it, and I'm hoping that this year I would explore more of it. So I've taken like really short courses on it before, but this year I'm hoping to take like full-blown product strategy courses so that by the end of the year I'll be reintroducing myself. Hi, I'm Grace Mary, a product designer and a product strategist. How about that? Sometimes last year I discovered this application or a website called Future Me. Future Me is basically like a platform where you get to write letter to your future self. I set quarterly reminders and I go on the platform and just kind of write a letter from myself today to my future self. How about that? Cool stuff, yeah? So I write about what I am hopeful for. I write about my current situation. If I'm frustrated, I write it there. If I'm excited, I write it there. The idea is that when I eventually open this letter in the future, when it's sent to my inbox in the future, and I see that all the things that I was worried about didn't come to pass, all the things that I was hopeful for came to pass, then it makes me much more confident in the future that these things will work out themselves. So in terms of finances, what are my hopes or what are my plans for my finances? Guys, guess what? Oh my God, I can't believe that I forgot something that happened last year. Guess what? I got monetized on YouTube. I got monetized on YouTube. Guys, thank you for your support. Thank you for making that happen. I couldn't have done any of that without you, so thank you. In terms of like multiple streams of income, I'm just exploring how I can make more money off YouTube and also make more money from other streams of income. I don't have any fancy ideas right now, but guys, please drop a comment in the comment section telling me how you've been able to successfully diversify your income. If you have suggestions for me to explore, I'm definitely open to considering them. So please drop a comment in the comment section. I'll be waiting to hear from you. There's something else I really want to do this year beyond being intentional about my friendship and family and relationships in general. I also want to take out time to savor each moment. And I feel like most times we are so focused on what hasn't happened that we ignore the, I'll call it, little beauties of each day. So I want to be writing like gratitude letters or gratitude, will I call them, snippets every day. So I'm gonna get a jar. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm gonna get a jar, and then every day I just put in a summary of all the beautiful things that happened. So, oh, it wasn't as cold as yesterday. That's a beautiful thing. I'm gonna write it and put it in there. Oh, I met a friend at work. Definitely I'm gonna put it there. Oh, I got a gift from my partner or my boyfriend. I'm gonna put in there. Do you get? The idea is that whenever I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling frustrated, when I feel like things aren't going the way I want them to go, I can just go into that jar, turn it out, and read all the wonderful things that happened for me. I'm just going to summarize all that I've said in terms of what my hopes or what my plans are for this year. The first one is that I'm going to create amazing video for you guys on YouTube in terms of the quality of the topics as well as the quality of the videos itself, right? That's one. I'm going to be much more intentional about my relationships, so my family, my friends, and my relationship, like romantic relationship, right? Number 3 is that I'm going to have a gratitude jar. So I'm going to put notes of things that went well for me each day and just put them in there so that it keeps me aligned with the fact that things are happening or good things are happening for me. The last but not the least is that I want to also grow in my career. In terms of career, one thing I'm really excited to see is how my work is going to impact Yelp and what I can learn from Yelpers, and then also interested in exploring product strategy. So that's the summary of what I hope for this year. So as I said before, it's not the full context of what's going to happen or what my plans are for the rest of the year. However, as things change, I'm going to kind of update my list and maybe I'll let you know. That brings me to the end of my video for today. Thank you for watching to the end. Bye bye and have a lovely 2023.